Hey y'all, you're listening to the What Would She Think podcast. I'm Dani.
And I'm Angie.
We're a mother and daughter duo, and we look forward to sharing the parallels on our life experiences.
Join us as we learn more about our views on how life has taken us on a wild ride.
This podcast is made to offer listeners a safe place to understand and discuss all the non-traditional new roles and breaking generational traumas. How we managed to turn our mother and daughter relationship from barely surviving
to thriving.
Love you.
Welcome into today's episode. We will be discussing divorced parents today.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, there's a lot of dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, and dun.
Dun, dun, and dun.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is a big topic for us because I have divorced parents and
I have divorced parents, and we have completely different views on having divorced parents.
Yeah, but we were both very young. I want to say 2 or younger, and you were
4. I still, 4 or 5. I was old enough to have memories from it. You were little, so you don't have many memories.
I don't have many memories of the actual divorce. I do remember some things growing up that were different.
Oh, like you saw with other families that were different? Or with your own siblings?
With my sibling and her relationship with my bio dad is very different from what I experienced. So I didn't get to go on, the normal trips away, but you did.
Like having shared custody. You didn't have to have shared custody.
No, I did not. I don't have any memory of ever being away from my mom to go away with my dad, which I don't know how I felt about it as a kid, but I don't have too many regrets on that. I don't think I wanted to go away.
You were so little. Being with someone who isn't your mom is obviously tough, let alone how far away you were.
Yeah, they were talking about a whole nother country.
More with kids now, it's oh, you're gonna go with your dad on the weekend. We're gonna do an hour meet up halfway. With you is completely different. It wasn't just a small drive away.
I don't even remember how far of a drive it would have been. That's how little I was. Mm-hmm. So you actually, I want to ask you, how did you feel, or did you feel that you grew up too quickly because you had to travel away from me?
Yes, I had to learn to be okay in public situations, even though, yes, I do have social anxiety, which is probably where it rooted from. Being put into very crowded, very chaotic places as a little kid.
Like airports.
Or just being with somebody or some people who I didn't know, but they would be oh yeah, we know you, and seeing family that you weren't that close with. So I did have to grow up a lot quicker being in such crowded places where I had to act like I knew what I was doing, and being put into an airport at for the first time at 11 and not having anyone an adult there with me. And just kind of having to guess or just wing it and figure it out myself.
While you have your younger brother in tow.
Exactly. Who doesn't listen to anything I say? So I was either you listen to me or we get stuck in an airport and this is your fault.
I can tell you, even as an adult, I'm terrified to be in a busy airport not knowing where I'm going. And you had to do that?
At 11.
At 11.
By myself with no adult. I mean, on the plane, we're fine because we're just sitting in the air.
But you don't know what can happen.
But I don't know what can happen. I'm not 100% sure that I had a phone. So, no, I didn't have one at 11. So, no phone. If anything happens on the plane, no texting.
Did you just call it 911?
What did I say?
You called it 911. I don't hear it called 911. I've always called it 911. That is so funny.
Did I say that?
You did.
Oh.
That is so funny. Okay, continue.
I didn't know I say it like that. Okay, so I couldn't call anyone. Obviously, when you're in a plane, you can't really call. But you can't, you know how you can pay for Wi-Fi now. I couldn't do that.
You didn't have that connection to me until you landed and connected with somebody who had a phone.
Somebody who had a phone. And then once I was with the family that I was meeting up with, then I could finally be able to, like, speak to you. And then even then, not having a phone, being able to text you when I want. Which is, I think, why I was always so fond of getting a phone at a young age. Not just because of social media, but I think also being able to communicate with you while you're states away. Exactly. On my terms, so no one can be like, oh, not right now, we're busy, we're doing this. But, like, I'm, like, having, like, an anxiety attack, or I'm getting a lot of, like, just social anxiety. I can't text you. I can't do anything. I have to just sit in silence.
Do you think that the anxiety of I'm getting off this airport or this airplane and the time before you get connected with your other parent, like not knowing how long it's going to be?
It depends, because there's been a situation where they're right there at the gate, but there's also been a situation where I had to walk away from the gate. I had to walk to baggage claim to see this person. I forgot who it was, but I had to see this person. So I had to walk through an entire airport, no phone, a kid who doesn't listen, and just kind of hope, oh, they're there. Because I was expecting him to be right there.
That's got to be so scary.
That's another thing. I think y'all had, like, paid for, like, somebody to, like, take us to these people.
Well, that's what they're supposed to do with minors. They're pay extra for that.
Exactly. They didn't do that. They told us, go here. They'll be there.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary.
That is scary. And I think I was still 11. I couldn't have been older. So I think that all, but I mean, it did get me more comfortable with flying. Like, now I can go through an airport, it, like, know it like the back of my hand after going through it one time.
Yeah, not me.
I had to learn my surroundings very quickly, being in those public places.
Yeah, you got thrown in there. It's either sink or swim, and you swam.
I swam. I had no choice. So, with you not having to travel, what were your views on having divorced parents? Like, what did you think it really was as a little kid, seeing it on your sibling compared to you? What did you think?
Well, I remember Bio Dad coming around and giving gifts. Like, that was basically my only memory.
Oh, like sorry, I'm not here for you all these years, but here's this.
Basically, that's in my brain how I remember it. I don't think it affected me as much because I didn't have much memory with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember later on, as I grew older and hearing the stories of what actually happened in my parents' marriage, being grateful that they weren't married still, and being grateful that my mom was able to get out of the relationship that she had been in and the dangerous situations that she had been in. Like, I think I was just happy that she found something way better or safer from what I thought was the scenarios.
Do you think what did you think seeing your sibling having to go visit and, like, just leave the house for either long periods of time or short periods of time just to go see somebody who you were like, oh?
I just remember hearing that she had fun. I remember seeing her happy, and I would see pictures, like she got to go to amusement parks, but you know what? I wasn't there, so I don't know how it really was for her. But as a kid, that's what I remember. That's just that she was happy, having fun. But
like going to all these places.
Yeah, but I still didn't feel like I needed to be there. I thought, okay, it was okay that she went, but I don't need to go.
Yeah, you don't want to go.
Yeah, so I don't feel that I missed out. I feel that I was okay with it. I think her choosing to have that relationship is different from me choosing not to have a relationship.
What about, like, what do you see as going through the divorce yourself and having a completely different view on having divorced parents? What do you think?
Well, I remember that was my only goal. And I think back on it and I really kick myself because as I was turning 18, I was in this relationship, and that's my only goal. Once I graduated high school, I didn't think about what I was going to have my career in or go to college. I only thought about becoming a mom and becoming a wife. And I thought that was it for me. I thought that's exactly what I'm supposed to do, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my, you know,
Focus.
my focus. And so I think because of that, I that's my only focus. I wanted to have a successful marriage. Now turn into the years of abuse that I suffered through it, I definitely realized too late, 10 years down the road, you know what, I need to get myself out of this because this is not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
And so I realized, okay, now it's a time, it's not in my hands anymore. I need to get myself out of this relationship.
Yeah. And I think with being young and focusing on that type of stuff, it's a very long decision. Like, oh, I'm going to get married at 18. That's something that's going to stick with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So, me having to also, not having to make that decision, but feeling like, oh, that's what I want in life. When I was in a relationship in the past, that's all I focused on. I was like, oh my God, I don't care about school. I'm going to slack off because that doesn't matter. I'm going to be a wife. I'm going to be a mom. Me having a career doesn't matter. Whereas now I'm in a completely different relationship. And I think not the total opposite, but I think more healthier things.
You don't want to lose yourself.
Exactly. Because when you're detaching and like, oh, I don't care about me, I'm going to focus on this, which is a future thing, not focusing in the present and not focusing to like, oh, what if something messes up in your plan? I had no backup plan. That was my only plan.
Yeah, I had no backup plan. I was there with two little kids, ages 4 and 2, trying to figure out what or how or, you know.
How do you, like, support them?
Yeah, I was the one working. I had my own place, so I didn't have to change that, but I had no vehicle. I was literally trying to figure out how to function as an adult now having these responsibilities. And it's very easy when you completely devote yourself to a relationship to completely lose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that's taken away, you're left with what? You find yourself completely lost.
And I realize that now because now I actually have a backup plan. Not saying if any, like, I'm hoping something's going to happen, but in the case that there is, it's not, I guess that is the word, like, basically left stranded.
You don't want to lose yourself in your relationship, in your marriage, in the future as an adult. You want to keep yourself and be married.
Exactly. And be able to support the things that I would like without having to rely on somebody else.
That's very big of you. Like, that's very mature thinking for your age.
It had to happen quickly.
No, but that's good because you are realizing now at a young age, which when I was 15, I was.
You wish you did?
Yeah. And so I've always said I never regret you guys because that marriage led me to have you and Eric, and you guys are my world. But would I have done things differently for myself?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, even before we were in the picture, you could have, gone to college and... Well, you did go to college.
I started off, but sure enough, I ended up dropping out to get married by 19 years old. And so now I think about that age group. Like, I was so young. I was a baby making very serious decisions.
I do still personally want to move out. Not necessarily the second I turn 18. Maybe before, maybe after. But I do look forward to moving out, but not for the same reasons. Now I look forward to moving out, being able to support myself and show that I'm able to support myself, rather than before I was like, okay, I moved out. Next is marriage, next is kids, next is death. Like, yeah, it was like a same pattern.
Yeah, there's no
stability.
Yeah, you got to really think of yourself in the present and think of the things that you want to do. Because once you have kids and if you do that in a marriage where you just completely lose yourself, then you have Like,
no
you'll look
good
back and
marriage.
wish, yeah, absolutely. You will look back and wish, wow, I wish I hadn't lost myself. This podcast is funded by buymeacoffee.com/twistofviolet.
With a membership, you will have access to exclusive content, behind the scenes, and a bonus video podcast a month. So, coming from, speaking of divorce, how did you see relationships after that, and how did that affect your relationships after that?
Oh, well, traumatized. Thinking that
Everything's the same?
thinking everything's the same. I really had to put myself in my head and realize, not everybody is him.
Mm-hmm.
And realizing that,
It's okay to trust some people that with certain things.
yeah, I mean, so
Like, oh, he used to be out going to parties, but tell me he's this place. Now when this person goes this place, are they really at that place?
and so now being remarried, I can tell you that at the beginning of the relationship, I definitely still had that in the back of my head, and I had to repeat to myself, they're not doing the same things that were done to you.
Mm-hmm. And that's just another trust issues thing. I mean,
Major trust issues.
yeah.
I definitely had that struggle, and it really does take stepping back and realizing that you're not in the same place. You're not with the same person who's going to do, all those things to you, lie to you, go,
Behind your back, be sneaky.
yeah, stealing, cheating, all that,
Mm-hmm.
just harsh stuff. You can learn to trust.
Or even like having to worry about saying the wrong thing because of how they'll react.
Oh yeah. So
Sometimes I still do that just from old habits of my own trust issues with relationships.
not knowing how to say things,
Yeah.
or not knowing how they're going to react when you say things.
Exactly. Like, I know I didn't do anything wrong, but in this situation, are they going to flip out? Are they going to, I don't know, like, be mad and hold a grudge forever and break
petty.
up with me? Be completely petty. But, no. Definitely having to relearn that nobody's the same. Well,
Not everybody's the same.
not everybody's the same when it comes to screwing you over.
Oh, that's harsh.
It's true.
It's so true.
So true.
So one thing that Dad and I really, really work on and always keep up is communication.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's a big thing, though.
that's a big thing. And
Having that after a traumatizing relationship is a huge thing because you don't know what they're going to think. You don't know what they're thinking. So when they communicate how they're feeling and how they feel about certain things, knowing, okay, so they told me this and this and this, they're not going to flip out at me for,
how you feel.
yeah.
Being able to have your own feelings and just communicate with them and
Be able to express it without worrying about a reaction.
absolutely. That's a huge thing.
I still struggle with that sometimes. But it definitely does take time.
It does. It does. So, Dad and I have been together for 10 years now, since 2012.
No, 11 years.
Almost.
Oh, true.
We're in.
Almost. A few days away, kind of.
So it took a couple of years, and it took him being very patient and getting me to slow down, getting me to take my time in our relationship, which it's very easy to like love bomb somebody and
Oh, completely.
and be
Like
just because-
honeymoon stage.
Yeah, because you want them to
Love you.
absolutely. You want them to be head over heels, madly in love,
And if
you
they're
think,
not, you're going to overthink. Oh my God, they don't love me at all. They hate me.
yeah.
They don't want to see me. They don't want to talk to me.
Yeah, no, but it's just taking your time in that relationship to appreciate each different milestone and step and, not love bombing somebody. You can just love them as it comes, and it's okay. And that is a really big thing that we learn to communicate that from the beginning. And at the beginning, I would, why won't you tell me you love me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
Oh, because he took it really slow with that.
yeah, he took our relationship slow. We didn't move in right away. We didn't,
I think that's a good thing, though, because there was kids involved.
yeah, and we took our time. And he definitely helped me, you know, mellow out in that department.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that stems from our communication.
And when he didn't love bomb you at first, you were like, oh, what's going on? How do you feel?
Yeah, I kept thinking he was just going to run for the hills. I kept thinking this is way too much baggage. He does not want to be dealing with, this chick with her 2 kids.
Did any of your boyfriends after think, oh, she has kids, let's go away from this right now? Like, once they found out, did that scare anyone away?
I didn't really have boyfriends after. It was
Talking.
I had a couple of dates, but I didn't have any like serious boyfriends.
Did you ever get to the point where you tell them, though? Like, hey, I have 2 kids, by the way. Or was that like a first meeting kind of thing?
I think because I went on dates with people who knew I had kids, I didn't really have to say I had kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't go on like, not literally, but you didn't go on like dating
Tinder,
places.
Yeah, no, that was not.
Well, I know it wasn't a thing, but like still like go out and date people you don't necessarily know.
No, absolutely. The only reason that Dad and I started talking is because I only started adding, people I knew in person on Facebook.
Mm.
And it was from one friend request to, that night, he messaged me and we started talking and texting from good morning to good night after that.
Oh.
That was
The honeymoon phase.
yeah. And he was never too busy to talk to me. It was never like, or if he was busy, like he had obviously work, he would let me know. But it was never like, stop talking to me. Like,
You're busy.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
No.
Don't talk to me.
Oh my gosh.
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger. No. And it was really nice because I felt comfortable because I knew him from
middle school.
Since middle school.
Wait, to clarify, you weren't talking to him while being married. You literally didn't even know each other. You didn't know it. You didn't keep the communication. Like you barely started talking to him again.
Yeah, it was after
the divorce.
Well, after I was already separated and like had removed that relationship from my life. Mm-hmm. Divorce definitely takes a lot longer than you wish.
Mm. Court, paperwork, people.
Yep. All that takes time.
That is another thing though, being a cycle breaker, because you're divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Your mother was divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother was divorced.
No,
wait,
no.
Is that really as far back as it goes?
That's as far back as it goes.
Oh.
It feels like that because that's your inner circle.
Yeah. So
that's what you grew
cycle
up.
Breaker.
Yep. It's important. Every time I see you make parallel choices, I definitely wish I could lead you in the right direction. Be like, don't make those same mistakes I did.
But I'm also really stubborn, so it doesn't work.
Yeah, you're very stubborn.
Thanks.
So I wanted to touch a little bit on how you felt as the kid with our co-parenting.
It was a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just a relationship that, we didn't work out, we're still friends.
No.
It was, we didn't work out for many reasons.
Yep, years of abuse.
And
all that trauma.
Exactly.
You remember it?
I do have memories of actually a lot. And having to not necessarily put myself in the middle, but...
You were placed in the middle.
I was placed in the middle.
You were placed in the middle.
And then with the pressure of having to pick sides too. Like if I not necessarily pick sides, but like, this is like having to feel like I had to say this person's my favorite and this one isn't.
You're basically put to pick a side with the person you're with when you're with them. And now that depends
Exactly.
on your safety and how...
Because if you say the wrong person, then this person's going to flip out. You never really flipped out. Because,
I definitely had my emotions because of the trauma.
yeah. So if I were to be like, oh, I'm going to go live with him and he's my favorite and all this, one, I would say it out of anger to spite you. And you knew I did. Yeah. So that also didn't help you reacting to that. But it was a lot of pick the right person. If you say the wrong person, then you're going to put yourself in danger. Or even when it comes to changing last names or saying you go by this last name, that's another chaotic thing too. It's another thing that can cause some arguments and fights, which a 6-year-old shouldn't necessarily be saying.
Yeah, that's hard. I actually remember wanting to have my dad's last name as I was growing up.
You read it.
I had my alter ego, which he actually named me Angie. That was my nickname.
Mm-hmm. And then is that how you thought of my name?
Yes.
No, it wasn't.
Yes.
You thought of Angelica from Rugrats.
That's why he named me that.
Oh.
So growing up, I had my alter ego, Angie Gonzalez, because of my stepdad.
And I have my little alter ego.
You have your alter ego.
I have my alter ego. But I know it's not an easy thing for the other family to hear that you don't want to go by that last name. It's more of a decision for myself. It has nothing to do with the people it involves, necessarily.
I think that's the hard part with...
They're going to be like, oh, you hate this side of the family. You want nothing to do with it so much you're going to change your last name. That's not true.
To me, you being my child, I don't feel that I should kind of shield you from making your own decisions for you. With our communication, I definitely feel that you making these decisions for you on how you feel based on your own experiences is important.
I'm literally solely basing it on my own experiences. I'm not going to base it off of, oh, Mom, you went through this and this and this because of this person. Okay, well, now it's my decision. Now I'm going to do this. No, it's solely based off things that have happened to me, my personal experiences with these people. But I'm also not doing it because, oh, I hate these people. I hate this side of the family. I'm going to cut them all off. I'm going to change my last name. No, this is a personal decision that I want to do for me.
I think it's definitely important that you make the decisions for you because this is your life that you live in. Mm-hmm. And I always want you to feel validated and heard because your experiences that you experience are very real. And I don't think you need to hold that to anybody else.
Also with having to make decisions like one parent or the other, one person is going to get hurt. One person is going to receive the backlash and either backlash the other parent.
This podcast is funded by buymeacoffee.com/twistofviolet.
With a membership, you will have access to exclusive content, behind the scenes, and a bonus video podcast a month. Or backlash me. And just, it's either one or the other. There's a lot of one or the other.
But I think that's where it's definitely important that you be heard for what you go through because you need to make these decisions for you and your life. It's definitely not one of those that you should ever feel any peer pressure, which we will definitely get into next time. Mm-hmm. Peer pressure from family on what you need to do with your life.
The decisions that I make.
If one day you decided to cut me out of your life based on how you felt in your mental health and our relationship, I would have to respect that.
Yeah.
I would have,
Obviously, you'd be upset about it happening, but you wouldn't be like, oh, screw you, fine.
no, I would have to respect that because that is your decision for your life. And I think that's what some people need to understand, out there, that when you're an adult and you decide to make these decisions and take people out of your lives or put people in your lives, that should solely be based on,
How you feel about
yeah,
those people, not because of other people's experiences.
you should never feel pressured to keep people in your life that are not meant to be in there.
Or like especially with family though, that's a big thing.
I honestly think that it's very important that you make that decision for yourself,
You
including
know,
family.
yeah, and people do know that I plan on cutting out certain family members for my own sake, like mental state, and for the backlash I received for coming out, or the backlash I received from just traumatic things happening within having a family.
Unfortunately, that's what happens when your father is a narcissist.
Yes. And you would know that too.
And I would know that too. And I hope with all our listeners that they can definitely take that and relate to that and understand that when they're dealing with either narcissists that are family members, that choosing your own mental health is far more important than any,
No matter how close they are to you.
even if they're blood. I would hope that you understand that you have a right to your own life and you don't need to keep people that are, damaging to your mental health in your life.
No matter like how old they are and how much they try and guilt trip you with what if I die, or what if
Well,
this
any of us
happens
can
to me.
die.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that. Like literally anybody could next. So
Choosing yourself is far more important. And I think definitely it's important for everyone to really think about their lives and think about what happiness they choose to have and what they choose to remove, what they choose to keep. All that is it within your own right because you're the one that has to live with it. If you choose to keep toxic people in your life just because of whatever title they may have, that's
titles don't matter.
no. No, what you bring to a relationship with whoever it is, whether it's a family member, a friend, you always need to really consider yourself first
I agree.
because that's where the importance of the quality of life that you live, of who you choose to keep in it. And I've told you this, since we started being open and honest with our conversations, is you have the right to choose that. Definitely as an adult.
Yeah. As a kid, is it a lot? It's a lot harder because either you're required to see somebody or you have to be around this person for reasons. You can't exactly just cut them out necessarily.
Because you can't go off and have your own life yet.
Exactly. You can't. One, I'm not old enough to drive, but you can't get in a car and go driving to get away from this person. You have to be around these people.
Yeah. And that I definitely think that's important for you and everyone to understand that. So as you choose who you keep in your life, I hope you realize that wherever your attention goes, that's where your energy flows. So if you have a lot of negative energy, it's definitely going to, bring you down.
That rhymed.
And it's important to let go of the people or situations that drain you.
If they're draining you, they're not good people.
No.
They're not somebody you want to keep in your life to be drained every single day or every time you hang out with them or every time you see them.
Yeah, that's definitely not healthy. So as we wrap it up, can you think of something that you learned from either my divorce or growing up from my divorced parents?
Yes, your divorce, just being able to not lose yourself in a relationship and learning that some people aren't meant to be there forever and sometimes just for a chapter, and then you move on because like no matter how close that person is to you, if they are doing you wrong, you definitely need to take them out. Knock 'em out. KO. So, from hearing me talk about being a young kid, seeing a divorce, what is something that you learned?
Well, what I remember seeing, and it definitely hurts, knowing that it's our reality, is that you had to grow up so quickly. You didn't get to be, and I remember seeing you compared to other kids. You were always a lot more mature.
I never liked Barbies.
You never looked, you never liked Barbies.
It was more of a makeup. I want to do
You
a full
always
face.
you were always already like this older soul. But I think it's probably because you had to grow up so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And as a mom, I feel like, was it that took that chance away of you having a longer childhood where you were more innocent?
Actually, I never thought about that. That definitely could be a reason.
Part of it.
Definitely part of it. And we will be back next Wednesday with a brand new episode.
Do we know what we're going to talk about?
We're going to be talking about peer pressure from family.
Ooh, that's a good one.
We kind of got into it this week with me growing up quickly and the pressures of just having divorced parents. So there's a lot more judgment. But we will get into that next Wednesday with a brand new podcast.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here at the What Would She Think podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, and you can send us your emails at whatwouldyouthinkpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll share your stories in our conversation.
We'll see y'all next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye. This podcast is funded by buymeacoffee.com/twistofviolet.
With a membership, you will have access to exclusive content, behind the scenes, and a bonus video podcast a month.